We're going to go live now, back to question period after the House Speaker of the House of Commons just resigned. Here's Opposition Leader Pierre Poilievre.
In this place and apologize for this massive and shameful failure. The Honourable House Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, it is important to highlight that the Speaker of the House of Commons is independent and elected by all members of this House. I thank the Speaker for taking responsibility for his actions. As I said yesterday, and as he repeated just a few moments ago, it was his decision. He accepts responsibility for it, and I think that was the honourable and the right thing to do. The Honourable Opposition Leader. Yes, but the Prime Minister's intelligence and protocol services had the right to ask for lists of all those who would be recognized. What's more, the responsibility to defend Canada's reputation, that is the Prime Minister's responsibility. We are currently experiencing the worst blow to our reputation in all of our history. So where's the Prime Minister? Where's he hiding? Why won't he rise in the House of Commons to defend Canadians' reputation?
I'm going to remind the honourable members whether we can, we cannot say whether someone is here or not in the chamber. We're on that line very closely. The Honourable House Leader for the government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Opposition Leader knows full well the Speaker of the House resigned today. He accepted responsibility for the decision that he made on his own. He alone decided to invite and recognize that individual. As all members of this House know full well, it was shameful for us as members. It was shameful for Canadians. He took responsibility, and that was the honourable decision.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal Speaker has taken the fall for this massive international shame and embarrassment. But the Prime Minister's protocol and intelligence units had the right to ask for the list of all those who would be present and recognized around a war leader from a country that is trying to defend its freedom from not only an invasion, but a propaganda war. The Prime Minister did not carry out that responsibility, and now our nation's reputation is in tatters. Will you stand up and apologize to Canadians, to the Jewish community, to the Ukrainian people, and to the entire world for this mess that he helped create?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I feel that I have to remind the Leader of the Opposition this, although he knows it very well himself, that the Speaker of the House of Commons is independent. He is voted upon by all of the members of Parliament, and he is the Speaker of all parliamentarians. Mr. Speaker, we know, and the Leader opposite knows, that this was the decision solely of the Speaker of the House of Commons. He chose to invite this individual. He chose to recognize him without informing the government or the Ukrainian delegation. This was highly embarrassing. I accept his resignation, and I'm glad that he did it.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
The Minister says he's not responsible for our diplomatic reputation, even though that is precisely the job of the head of government. Like when he says he's not responsible for the inflationary spending that led prices and interest rates to rise faster than at any time in history. He's not responsible for housing costs doubling after he promised to lower them. He's not responsible for dressing up in racist costumes so many times he can't remember. That's all Canadians that needed to learn a lesson from his personal conduct. And now he says he's not responsible to vet the very people that come into contact with a visiting head of state. Is it that he's not responsible or that he's irresponsible?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would posit that the Leader of the Opposition is being very irresponsible right now in his accusations, when in fact he knows the truth, and it's why every party in this House has asked for the resignation, which has now been received by the Speaker of the House, because it was his decision and his decision alone to invite this individual and to recognize him in this chamber. The Leader of the Opposition knows this. He is irresponsibly politicizing this issue. This is something that has brought shame and embarrassment to all of Parliament and indeed all of Canadians, and the Speaker did the honourable thing in resigning. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition.
Well, I am responsible enough to show up for work, Mr. Speaker. You know, I mean this literally. Has there ever been a greater diplomatic embarrassment in the history of our country? I mean it literally. In coffee shops and gyms and businesses and boardrooms around the world, people are reading about this massive and shameful disgrace that unfolded under the watch of a Liberal Speaker and a Liberal Prime Minister. And yet, he can't even show up for work. Where is he, and why is he hiding under a rock today?
I'm just going to stand here for a few minutes and see what goes on.
You should know. You should know.
Are we ready? Okay. Underlining whether someone is here or not is not allowed by the rules of this House. The Honourable Government House Leader, if she wants to answer it. I'll give her the option.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is precisely why the Speaker of the House announced his resignation, because he took responsibility for his actions that have hurt parliamentarians and have hurt all Canadians and indeed Canada's reputation. That is why every party in this House called for his resignation. But I do find it ironic, Mr. Speaker, that we have barely heard a word of support for Ukraine from the Leader of the Opposition until he sees a political wedge issue and tries to politicize this issue.
Order. A long day, it looks like. Order. L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Mr. Speaker, a question more about substance than style. The official opposition leader and I agree on something which is significant. The Prime Minister is not responsible for the mistake, but he is responsible for fixing it. He is head of state. It's his responsibility. So, does the Prime Minister intend to officially apologize on behalf of Canada and unfortunately still on behalf of Quebec? Does he intend to apologize to all those who suffered as a result of the dramatic and serious event which took place in this place? The Honourable Government House Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my colleague for his question. The Speaker already apologized for the decision that he made. It was a shameful decision for all of us as members and for all Canadians. It was important that he take responsibility for his actions and decisions. Everyone in this House called for his resignation. He did so, and that was the honourable choice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. After 6 questions, it's hard to believe that the Government House Leader hasn't yet understood that the responsibility of the Prime Minister and the responsibility of the House are not one and the same. The Prime Minister needs to assume his responsibilities as head of state. as a head of government. So he needs to apologize to the Jewish community in Quebec, in Canada, and around the world. He needs to apologize to all parliamentarians and to all Canadians, and he must specifically apologize to President Zelensky because this event made him target of Russian propaganda. The Honourable Government House Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said yesterday, I am a Canadian of Jewish origin. I am the descendant of a Holocaust survivor. This incident hurt me personally, as it hurt all members of this House and all Canadians. The incident also hurt President Zelensky. The Speaker of the House apologized and took responsibility for his decision, which was shameful and painful for us all. He did the responsible thing by resigning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Burnaby South. Yesterday, it was manufacturers' turn to be summoned by the Innovation Minister. The Minister knows full well that they have jacked up prices because he's only asking them to stabilize prices. After the meeting, the Minister said that inaction is not an option, except that that is exactly what he's been doing for the past 2 years. Will the minister make a commitment to Canadian families? Will he commit to them that their Thanksgiving meal will cost less this year than it did last year? The Honourable Innovation Minister. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question. I'm happy to hear that he also has read that we've said that inaction is not an option. That is why we summoned major grocers in Canada.
Okay, we've just been listening in there to question period.